CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lampp.
Harriet Bremner down there in, central Southland would be the description. Western Southland, yes. How are you, Harriet? Lovely to have you on the show.
I'm great, thanks, Andy, for having me.
I appreciate that. You've been out on the farm this morning, and I think waiting in the wings as well, we've got Chris Lewis. I think Chris is just back from holiday, I understand. Are you there, Chris?
Yeah, good afternoon, Andy. Good afternoon, Harriet. Yeah, back from holiday and struggling to get back into it.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens. It is funny how, yes, it looked like you had a nice time, Chris. I was following a little bit, but nice to get back and get back onto the farm. Everything all good?
Yeah, farm was actually good. The staff did an outstanding job while I was away. There's always, a couple of things, but farming's not perfect and no one wants a whiny boss, do they? So I had to give a bit of praise.
Especially after the whiny boss has just come home from holiday. That's definitely what they don't want. Hey, Harriet, for people who are unaware, you are in an absolutely beautiful part of the country. Tell us where you are.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. We are Jericho Station, so we are half an hour southwest of Te Anau, so basically the furthest southwestern point you can farm before you end up in the national park. The farm borders the Waiā River and Fiordland National Park, so that's a view that we get every day, which never gets old, to be fair. It's pretty magical.
Yeah, exactly. And I do get the privilege of seeing some of your Snapchats, and you're out on the horse regularly, and I just look at your lifestyle, and I know it's farming and I know it's hard work, but I'm going, now that is a farming operation. That is beautiful, beautiful where you get to go. Hey, look, let's have a bit of a chat, because a couple of things. I'm not sure how far or how much you guys are over this, but this survey that came out today about farmers and key findings that 79% of farmers, this is 1,000 farmers, it's a poll done by Curia, 79% of farmers support imported animal products meeting New Zealand welfare standards. I'll start with you, Harriet, seeing as you're on there. Are you surprised by that amount of support for that with what it is, or do you think it's a given?
Yeah, I mean, I'm no expert, Andy, but I guess if imported products are meeting standards that we as New Zealand farmers have to adhere to, then I think that's understandable. I think the issue is where we're importing products that aren't meeting standards, particularly in the pork industry and the likes, that we probably struggle with everything within our farming structure that we need to do these days to keep our social licence afloat. There's a lot of pressure on us to meet standards and regulations. It adds to the workload of an already quite large workload. But yeah, I guess I can see that, if we're getting better prices for exporting our products, and then our country can import products that have similar standards or the same standards, then yeah, that's not a super big surprise.
Chris, what do you make of it? 78% believe New Zealand farmers should not be undercut by lower standard imports. Is that a surprise? I mean, was that where you would thought it would be?
On the face of it, it's not surprising. But, I've just come back from overseas, saw a few farming operations. And if you talk about the pork industry, you'd probably say, yeah, that's a fair argument and you've got to support it. But then if you take it to other industries like dairy and Harriet, of course, probably sheep, you'd be a bit nervous around having equal standards between countries because, if you set stock ewes over lambing, Europeans will say that's not a very good standard. Or you could say on dairy farmers on my farm that I irrigate effluent during winter. They'll say that's a poor standard. We should hold it for 150 days. So depends what we're arguing on, and we all like to say the New Zealand farmers are the world's best, but there are some standards overseas that are a lot higher, and it'll be harder for us to meet with our pasture-based system and our seasonal-based system. And we run things at a lower cost, at scale, and all those things. So depends where you want to take this argument, and just be careful that there's a double-edged sword, and we may not like the counter-argument from our European friends.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It is a two-edged sword. And Harriet, that is That's an interesting discussion, isn't it? Because we assume, or we like to think that we are at the highest standard imaginable for animal welfare issues. But as Chris said, sometimes their perception of what we're doing is counter to that, right? Which can cause us issues with our exports.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that, people know what they know, and we look around and we think that our farming practices are fantastic. We strive to look after the land in which we are farming on every single day and the animals on it. It's our livelihood, it's our lifestyle, it's our home. And so we think that these practices, are good. And then I think you've got to take into consideration too that the way that we farm this property here, the needs of the environment around us specifically are also different to an environment, say, somewhere in the North Island where it's different again. So within our own country, we've got different ways that we need to approach our environment and how we farm that. It's really interesting. We get a lot of Europeans coming over here woofing and living on the farm with us for a time. A lot of them are vegetarians. I may be going a wee bit off track here. I'll try not to. Their perception is that they don't eat meat because of the way the animals are treated. We've come to the realization that, trying to hammer it into them over dinner doesn't really work. So taking them out on farm, showing them what we do, showing them our practices, showing them how our stock live, free roaming, on grass, happy days. We have converted a few in their stay here, which is cool, but they have a real perception that, animals are kept in cages and in small pens and not treated well. This is a very few select people. So I think also, obviously, their social media and what they're, presented with on their phones, and that has a big impact on their views as well. But, within their countries, there will be different practices within, their realm as well, and what different people are presented with or have been exposed to differs as well. So you've got quite a complex range of people's personal opinions and views, I think, too.
Yeah, Chris, it's interesting that, isn't it? Like once you show people how we farm, particularly, it does alter people's perceptions on what is right or wrong, effectively.
It does, and especially if you take the people out of Wellington and take a farm, it changes perceptions too. We do what's right for our environment, like Harriet said, and our environment is different from the Europeans, different from the Americans, and we face different battles. So have a one-size-fits-all rule for standards could work well, but on some standards, it will inflict pain on us. So that is why when I was seeing some of those discussions on social media about this, they're just looking at it at a very one-eyed, narrow view, and you just got to look at the wider lens, trade context. All the negotiators got to negotiate and rebuff some of these silly arguments out there, and especially within New Zealand, it's a tough subject to win over.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I changed tack here and I'll stay with you, Chris. What have you made of the announcement yesterday from the government to reform local government? I had Simon Watt on earlier in the show. I have been incredibly surprised at the lack of comment about it in the media and generally. I mean, it's probably quite new, but these are fundamental changes. What's been your thoughts?
At a high level, you'd say, oh, this sounds wonderful. You look at an Excel spreadsheet and there's some costs to save and we're going to do A, B, and C. But, with any amalgamation where you're amalgamating farm blocks, rugby clubs, or even the Auckland Super City Council, nothing ever goes to plan. It's hard to realise the costs. And I think the biggest thing I realise is and you just take the context for rural New Zealand, it'll be a weakening of the rural voice, weakening of services to rural New Zealand. And for farmers, we pay 45 grand a year in rates here. Of course I want savings, but the consequences of achieving $1,000 saving versus getting ignored and having higher imposing regulations and costs put on us by people who do not understand farming within New Zealand, who are based in Wellington or Auckland or Wellington, I'd be very nervous, to be honest. And very nervous is, just look at the Polytechnic amalgamation of recent. Amalgamations do not ever work well in New Zealand. It's taken Fonterra 20 years to be bloody outstanding. Do you want to wait 20 years, Andy?
No, I don't. I don't actually. Harriet, what's your thoughts about these local government reforms, amalgamating? Simon Watts actually specifically mentioned Southland. You guys are quite a way down the track of amalgamating, and he also said that the regional councils will be out of business completely. They will cease to exist.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's another big topic, Andy, isn't it? And Southland has definitely been in the spotlight for the past however many years with the likes of winter grazing plans, and we've sort of forefronted a lot of that kind of regulatory stuff down here. So I find it interesting talking to farmers around the country because they'll say, oh, we'll never have to do what you have to do down there, and what works in Southland won't work here. And yes, there's truth to that, but in what capacity is a line going to be drawn in the sand, and where is that? Does this new model have that chance for individual representation? And so I guess that's a question that we're asking. We know what works for us down here, but like I mentioned earlier, just because that works for us, it's not going to work for farmers on the outskirts of Wellington, or our neighbours in Central Otago. If you look at if you've obviously driven from Central Otago to Southland, the dramatic change in landscape in a 2-hour drive is phenomenal. So is it going to allow for this individual representation, I guess, is my question. Yeah,
it's going to be an interesting one. Chris, regional councils going out of operation, that's sort of flagged, but someone's got to do the work, right? That work's still got to happen.
Yeah, it's causing me a bit of concern because, they say that might have mayors be the new regional council. But mayors are leading political people. They're not leading governance people, not leading people on environment. That they're elected by towns just because of local issues there. It's two different jobs between the district council and regional council. And to think that they, get a whole lot of mayors who have got the popular vote and now they're going to be joined together and work around the table and make some great decisions, it's just going to lead to less accountability. Yes, it's going to be some benefits, don't get me wrong, but I haven't seen an argument from the government to say this is going to be the best thing for rural New Zealand, apart from saving $10 or $1,000. It's just, I'm a true believer in focusing on the outcomes, and I can't see how the outcomes are going to be beneficial yet.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of discussion about it. We're supposed to have Sandra Faulkner on the show, but a little bit of a mess up there. We're going to get her on tomorrow. Hey, Harriet, just before we go, opening weekend, last weekend, did you get out for a shoot? What was it like on your station?
No, I didn't get to shoot. I have a 2-year-old, Andy, so we had a couple of family friends bring their children down and they all got to go, but don't you worry, the girls are coming over one weekend and we'll have our turn. So not sure when that will be, but in the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
The boys will be left babysitting?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if it's babysitting, if it's your own child, is it? But
No, exactly. Well, they'll be left in charge, put it that way.
We're all very much about taking turns. So Ed's had his turn and it'll be my turn next time. But I have been doing a fair bit of horse hunting lately, so I can't complain.
Okay, right, okay. Well, there's a few. Yeah, okay, right. Chris, what about you quickly? You got home in time for opening or too late?
Oh, still in Paris.
Oh, okay, all right. Oh. Well, you can just go away as well. Rightio. Hey, guys, really, really appreciate your time on our panel today. Chris Lewis from the Waikato and Harriet Bremner there from Western Southland. Really appreciate your time, guys. Have a great day and we'll talk to you again.
CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lampp.